Good Moed. On Shabbos Chol Hamoed Succos, we lein Koheles. It's a minhag in Klal Yisrael. We lein Koheles. Some kehilos lein it in the middle of davening with Kriyas Torah. Some kehilos lein it at the end. Some kehilos don't at all. Maybe Sfardim, I'm not sure. Sfardim lein it in Shul at all. However, we lein Koheles on Shabbos Chol Hamoed, and Koheles itself is a really powerful, deep sefer, and a sefer very hard to understand, very confusing, and it seems to be contradictory in many different ways. And I wanted to talk about Koheles a little bit because Koheles has a lot to do with the whole message of Succos in general and why we lein Koheles on Succos, and hopefully to gain a little bit of a deeper appreciation, understanding of Koheles and the message it's teaching us and how it all connects to Succos. And we're going to focus specifically on the second perek. I feel like the second perek of Koheles almost is like a summary or a capsulation of the whole Sefer Koheles. And the second perek in particular tells us the following story arc. We're going to go through some of the psukim inside, but it tells us the first psukim tell us how Shlomo HaMelech said to himself, Hamarti ani belibi, I'm going to go out and I'm going to amass as much pleasure and enjoyment as I can. I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy anything and everything, obviously not things that are asur, not things that are prohibited. However, anything that is mutter, anything that is permissible, Shlomo HaMelech said, I want to know what that is about. I want to know what that enjoyment is. I want to know what that chachma is, if it's a different chachma. He wanted to understand it all in order to be able to convey to future generations how we should look at everything, because people can spend their whole lives wanting something and never being able to have it. So Shlomo Melech wanted to tell us, look, I got certain things and I want to tell you what happens when you have it so that I could save you the trouble. And that's really like the whole Sefer Koheles is Shlomo Melech telling us the wisdom that he amassed over the course of his lifetime. It was written in his older years, and he's trying to help us. He's trying to teach us in order to help us not have the same pitfalls that he had in order to have a better life. So he tells us the first number of psukim tell us all the different things that he did, all the different things that he wanted to amass, and of course he says v'gam hu hevel. He saw that all of it was hevel. It was all nothingness. It was all this idea hevel we're going to talk about more because it comes up throughout the whole sefer. So he said he went out and he got all the different foods and he learned all the different chachmas that were word v'libi noheg b'chachma v'lechos b'sichlos, and he also looked into sichlos, like foolishness, frivolity that existed in the world, and he wanted to know what's better, chachma or frivolity, chachma, wisdom, or foolishness. And he built all sorts of homes and he planted all sorts of fields and pardesim, all sorts of orchards and gardens, and it tells us all the things that he acquired for himself. Chazal tell us that he, even in the spiritual world, even the supernatural world, when the pasuk tells us over here, he says he had more than anybody ever had before him in Yerushalayim. Pasuk Ches tells us all the money he had, the kesef and the zahav that came from all the other kingdoms all around. Sarim, Sharim, Visharos, Visanugos, Bnei Ha'adam, Shida, Vishidos. Chazal tell us when it says Shida, Vishidos, it means even the Shadim, even the underworld, all the spiritual forces were all subjugated to Shlomo HaMelech. He was like, the master of the world. I had more and amassed more than anybody had before me. And I still remained with my chachma. I did everything that I wanted to do. He tried everything that he could, and all of these things. And what does he have to tell us about this? So we're looking now, Pasuk Yud Aleph, and I looked at all these things that I did, everything that I had accomplished. Yeah, it was all silliness, all worthlessness. It was not actually of any value. So again, I looked into understanding chachma, wisdom, versus holilus and sichlus, frivolity and wastefulness. He tells us, Shlomo Melech, he found in Pasuk Yud Gimel that he found the chachma, wisdom, is better than foolishness, like light is better than the darkness, right? So such a clear and obvious thing. Obviously, it's better to be a chacham than to be a fool. A chacham, he walks with his eyes in his head, he sees ahead of him, he sees what's there. And a fool walks in the darkness. But right now, in this pasuk, Yudalid, in the middle of the pasuk, he seems to change gears. However, I know that even the wise and the wicked and the foolish, same thing is going to happen to all of them at the end, right? So he goes in this one pasuk, he tells us that the chachma is better than sichlus, like light is better than dark. But then one pasuk later, he tells us, however, the same end awaits everybody. And I said to myself, the pasuk tesvav, kimikra haksil gamani yikreni, the same thing that's going to end up happening to the fool, meaning he's going to end up dying at some point and leaving this world, it's going to happen to me. So what was it worth for me to gain all of that chachma? And I realized that this was also worthless, this was also, ridiculous. Because people don't remember the chacham just like they don't remember the ksil. Shlomo Melech is saying, how could that be? How could it be that a person spends his whole life developing chachma and gaining wisdom, and then he dies and he ends up just the same as the fool, and at the end everybody forgets both of them? And when he came to this realization, he hated life. Because it was so bad to me, this idea that happens under the sun. This idea that everything happens the same. Doesn't matter if you're good or bad, everybody has the same end. And therefore I resented everything that I had done. What, I'm just going to leave it for somebody else after me? And he says, who knows if that person is going to do the same as me? Maybe he's going to lose it all. And in Pasuk Chaf, it was miyayesh. He had sabosi ani leyayesh is libi. I let myself feel yeosh. He gave up hope. Al kol amal shamalti tachas hashemesh, because he knew that everything that he did, somebody later can mess it all up and it'll all be gone. Because you have a person like him who does everything with great wisdom and with great kochos, and somebody else will get it. And that person can end up losing it, and that's also a terrible thing. And he goes on, and goes on and on. So it's really hard to understand, he called Yom of Machovim, Vakas, and Gam Balayla, Lo Shachav Libo, all the person's days, whether he's a Chacham or not, his days are full of hardship and difficulty. Even when he sleeps at night, he doesn't get rest. Ki Akol Hevel, who, again, because this whole world is full of Hevel. So what is he saying over here? It seems like so contradictory, and so life is pointless, and what's the point of being here? And he's just telling us over and over, and I resented life, I resented being alive, I resented my life. So what is he saying over here, and what how is this helping us, and what's the point? So we have to understand a major theme, the theme of Koheles, which is we are put over here in Olam Hazeh. However, we know that there are two existences, two worlds. There's Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. There's the physical world, and then there's the spiritual world. There's the world of Gashmias, the world that we interact with and that we live in, and then there's the world of Ruchnias, the world of spirituality, which is where everything that we do happens. Now, in Sefer Koheles, this is referred to as the world Tachas HaShemesh versus everything that is not Tachas HaShemesh, meaning when he says, and starting out from the very, very first pasuk, and this is like the secret code to Koheles, right, to understand everything that he's talking about. Divrei Koheles ben David Melech Yerushalayim Hevel Havalim Amar Koheles Hevel Havalim Akol Hevel, right? It's all Hevel. Ma Yisron LaAdam B'chol Amalo Shi'amol Tachas HaShamesh. What is the benefit to a person with everything that he does? But where are we talking about? What am I talking about in this whole sefer? My whole sefer is about Tachas Hashemesh. I'm talking only about the physical world. L'mayla min Hashemesh, so to speak, the Shemayim, the spiritual world, everything that is not a function of physicality, well, that's a whole different story. Everything l'mayla min Hashemesh, everything I do, every tiny action has massive effects over there. Every tiny mitzvah I do remains forever and ever and ever, and is nitzchi and lasts, and is a part of the spiritual world and a part of Hashem's crown, and all of those mashalim and metaphors. That's everything, but that's all lamayla min Hashemesh. That's all in the spiritual world, and the whole Sefer Koheles is coming to tell us this world is not what it's all about. This world, the physical world, the world of He'elam, the Olam, the world that's hiding Hashem from us, the Gashmius world that's hiding the Ruchnius world from us, that's all Tachas Hashemesh, and that's all Hevel Havalim, that's all nothingness. And not only that, if you live your life expecting to see your spiritual accomplishments over here, you're going to be very, very, very disappointed, because that's not what it's about. And that's the whole Sefer Koheles. This is what Shlomo Melech is coming to teach us. Now let's go back and look at these psukim. He tells us the beginning of the perek Beis, that he went out and sampled everything good, again, nothing, not averas, not things that were aser, other than what Chazal tell us in terms of his wives having done avodah zarah, etc. Right? But other than that, everything he did was mutter, right? But he tried everything, all the chachma, as well as all the physical pleasures, all those things. And he's coming to tell us, right, that at the end of the day, the yisron of chachma, the light that chachma provides, is like the difference between light and dark, right? That's pasuk Yud Gimel. Sheyesh yisron l'chachma min hasichlos ki yisron or min hachoshech. A chacham ein of barosho v'ksil b'choshech holech. A chacham ein of barosho. However, Rav Moshe Dovid Vali says in that pasuk is included the turning point. A chacham ein of barosho means that he knows not to expect it over here. Ein of barosho, his eyes are in his head. He's looking ahead into the future. He knows that what's happening tachas Hashemesh is not what it's all about. The ksil walks in the darkness over here in this world, expecting to see it here, and that's why he continues to say, yes, over here in the physical world, tachas Hashemesh, it's all the same. It's all the same. That what happens to a tzaddik happens to a rasha. Everybody dies, everybody suffers, everybody has tsaros, everybody goes through things, and that's the whole Sefer Koheles. So you look through all the other prakim, this is what he keeps on speaking about, that it's not to the fast person is the race, not to the wise person is the war. Why? Because Hashem controls the world. Everything that happens over here in Olam Hazeh, I'll read you a few words from Moshe Dovid Vali, how he explains this, and explains that the difference that of what we're talking over here, that how it works between the difference between over that world and this world and what we're doing over here. So he tells us when he gets into the right. Okay, so this is on pasuk Yudaled, where he says this idea of a chachav ve'ena barosho. So I'm just going to quote you from Moshe Dovid Vali. Tzarich lahavin v'lahaskil she'ikar ha'or shel hachachma eino moil ela lachaye ha'olam haba. Where does this chachma come into play? Where does the benefit of all of the ruchnius that we do, that's for olam haba? Sharei lachaye olam hazeh hakol talui b'mazal shehi hanagas hamikra. Right, this is the concept of mikra. Now, it's not mikra of like happenstance and coincidence, chas v'shalom, that as if Hashem is not controlling it. But what it means is mikra from our perspective. It doesn't look like it's happening because of something that I did, and because of this that happens, and this happens, and that. No, to us it looks like mikra. That's called the hanhaga of mazel, and that means that the things that are happening in this world are not related to what we do. A person can live his whole life being a big tzaddik, and it does not show up, it doesn't register over here in this world whatsoever. And he goes on over many psukim and explaining this world. Hachacham hazeh yada b'chachmaso she'ein hayisron shel hachachma b'chaye olam hazeh she'im hevel v'rekiim l'chaye olam haba she'im ha'amitim hanitzchim. That's really where it matters. That's really where it counts. Lefichach hayasone as chaye olam hazeh u'moes bahem. This is Rav Ali explaining on pasuk Yud Zayin when Shlomo Melech says sanesi ani esachayim bein mipnei griusan bein mipnei apitu she'esh b'hem tamid ala ruach hamoshel. Right? There's always the Yitzhahara trying to get us. There's always tzaros. There's always problems over here, right? And most people fall prey to their Yetzer Hara. Right? It gets into people's minds that no, this is the main world, this is where it matters, and after you die is not what counts. Right? Any chacham would have a certain amount of disdain, a certain amount of hatred for this world. And the world is messed up, and there's all sorts of problems and all sorts of things. Right? Because over here, that's not where it's going to happen. It's not where it's going to be. That we're not expecting to see it over here. So finally, he just makes sure that we're not misunderstanding when Shlomo Melech himself says in Pasuk Chav Beis, he says, "Ki ma hovela adam cholamolo b'rayon libo shu amal tachas hashemesh." Right? What is it all worth? What's it all value? Right? So again, he's saying tachas hashemesh. Don't think you're going to see it over here. And Rav Vali makes sure we don't misunderstand. Va'amnam ein lomer chas v'shalom shamelech hachacham hazeh yale al daito lachshov. Don't think that Shlomo Melech for a second thought she yoved zmanu v'scharo, that it was a waste of his time. That a person who does tikkunim for kedusha, for chachma, and strives to be good and do mitzvos and learn Torah over here, don't think that that's what he's saying. Right? That wouldn't be wise. That would be apikorsos. That would be minus. That would be heretical. Right? Of course, Shlomo Melech knew that anybody who does tikkunim for the kedusha, anybody who's doing what they're supposed to do, so all of that schar, it is all kept for the olam hagmul, for the olam of schar. Ve'enu medaber ela b'hoveh, the whole Sefer Koheles, everything he keeps on repeating, everything hevel havalim, how pointless it is, and that there's nothing to it, and it's meaningless. It's all now the hainu be'inyanei ha'olam hazeh. It's all talking about this world. She'ein yisron el mesaken lihanos mitikuno be'olam hashafal hazeh. We don't expect to see the benefits of our tikkunim here. It's not what we're doing it for. We're not being good Jews and serving Hashem so that we have a great life. We daven, we ask Hashem, we hope we'll have a great life, but that's not what it's about. We're working here for building that ruchnius world, for building that world of kedusha and spirituality and tikkunim. Right? But in this world, here it's all dependent on Hashem and what needs to happen, and my suffering and what I'm going through over here. Right, that is nothing to do with the tikkunim of the good that I'm doing. Right, and that is mamish, and that's what he says. That's why when you look in the world and you see, and the Koheles writes this over and over, you see that great people and the same terrible things happen to them that happen to Rishayim, and he gives many examples. Kikol yamav machovim v'kas, everything is difficult, right? Even for people who are trying to do good, right? Okay. However, so what is a person supposed to do? So what's the right attitude then? So that's like very depressing. That's like an existentialist view of life. So like nothing matters. And so on the one hand, we have to keep in mind, of course it matters. It matters tremendously. It matters massively. It's mattering where it really matters, right? What's happening here is not what matters. However, he tells us further, he tells us what to do. In Pasuk Chav Daled, Ein Tov Ba'adam, so what's good? What are you supposed to do? Sheyochal, Vashasa, Veheres Nafsho Tov Ba'amalo, right? So go and eat and drink what Hashem gives you, what Hashem provides for you. Enjoy it. Don't look for extras. Don't look for more. Don't look to see the good of your actions over here in this world. That's not what you should be expecting. But what Hashem does send you, that you enjoy. Gam zori isi ani kimyad helokim hi. When Hashem is giving somebody something, enjoy it. Because I had more than anybody else. Ki la'adam shetov l'fan of nasan chachma v'das v'simcha v'lachoti nasan inyan leso v'lichtos l'seis l'tov l'fnei elkim gamze hevel rosruach. So that's what he's explaining, this idea that he writes, Rav Moshe Dovid Vali, on this point, is that sometimes you could see a person who has a very good life in this world, and a person might say, Oivei, so then I'm losing my olam haba, I'm losing my schar, or something, chas v'shalom. He says the same thing over here. What happens over here in this world has nothing to do with our schar, it has nothing to do with our ruchnius, it has nothing to do with our tikkunim. Everything that we do good is saved, is kept, is absolutely shamur lenetzach nitzachim. What it all boils down to which Shlomo Melech tells us himself, right? Very, very end of the Sefer. And I hope you'll take time over Yontif now, maybe, looking and understanding more what's going on in this incredible, powerful Sefer, right? Telling us not to think about focusing on this world, not to make it about here. Sof davar hakol nishba. What's the bottom line? Es Elokim yora ves mitzvosav shemor kizeh kol ha'adam. The bottom line is do mitzvos and fear Hashem, because that's what it's all about. It's not about what happens over here. It's not about the success here and the failure here. And it's not about trying to see the results over here. What's es Elokim Yirei ves mitzvosav shmor zeh kol ha'adam ki es kol ma'is Elokim yaviv mishpat al kol nelam im tov yom ra. Hashem is keeping track of everything. Hashem knows everything. Every tiny little thing is under cheshbon with Hashem, and it matters where it really matters. L'mayla min Hashemes, right? L'mayla min Hashemes. That's the ruchnius world. That's where everything we do actually counts and actually matters. Tachas Hashemesh, this world, this place, this is Hevel V'Ra'os Ruach. This is a place of meaninglessness. We shouldn't be expecting to see it over here. Yes, the good that Hashem gives us, we appreciate, we thank, and we enjoy, and we should be thankful and appreciate the good and have good and enjoy the good. However, to live life expecting to see it over here and to live life being disappointed when I don't, so that is mamish what Koheles is coming to tell us. And this is the message of Succos. We leave our house and we go into the Sukkah, to the place, the Tzela de Mehemnusa, the place of Emunah. I say over many times, I'm sure you've heard from me, many of you, the whole concept of tzel. I saw this in Sefer Bilvavi Mishkan Evne, years ago, the concept of a shadow, shade, right? That's what the whole sukkah is about, making shade from the schach. We have to have that's the whole mitzvah, is to have there be more shade than sun, right? The shade, a shadow looks like there's something there, right? But when you look at it more closely, you realize, no, it's not really there. And then you think about it more and you realize, no, not only is it not there, but it's actually just the absence of light, right? It's the absence of something else. And that's what the shadow and what we're supposed to be contemplating, what we represent over here, that's this whole world. Olam Hazeh looks like something. It looks like it is real. It looks like it has existence to it and reality to it and meaning to it and importance to it, right? However, when we think about it, we know, no, it's Hevel, it's not really there. And when we think about it even more, we realize, no, it's Helem, it's the hidden. The Olam is hiding Hashem from us. Everything physical that we ever chase after, that we're ever running after, it's not something, it's a lack of Hashem. And, that's mamash the whole message of Koheles, to put the focus where it's supposed to be, right? This is the Chag HaSif Zman Simchasenu, the times in Klal Yisrael when they would be bringing in their bounty from the field, and they would have so much, they would have, have their the all of their crops, and right. So we're laying Koheles to keep it in check, keep it in keep that simcha in check. That the true simcha, yes, we enjoy the smachos of this world, the good that Hashem gives us, we enjoy it, right? But the true simcha is lamaylam and Hashemesh. The true simcha is where it really counts and where our actions really have meaning. Okay, we should all have a wonderful Succos, a great Shabbos. Learn Koheles, be inspired by the beautiful, powerful words of Shlomo HaMelech, and be zochet to place our focus on where it's really important. Chag Sameach.